This is Help Save Our World Speak number 97, Life-Altering Events and Sustainability Continued. Life-altering events can redirect humanity to living a sustainable way of life. Your composition of choices creates your path, your journey, and of course, ultimately your future. If all of your choices are your best possible choices, your future and your whole life will just be absolutely amazing. And if you continuously make bad choices, you'll get further and further out of alignment with, of course, yourself and Mother Nature. And you'll manifest an undesirable future for yourself heading along that path. On your internal and personal level, because trying to break it down into different perspectives. On your internal and personal level, by making poor choices, you become unhealthy, and that unhealthy can mean physically, it can be emotionally, it can be mentally, and you'll become sicker and sicker, resulting in you suffering unnecessarily and ultimately dying prematurely. You find so many people who die prematurely because of their poor life choices leading up to that moment of extreme disease and then, of course, death. Concerning other life and our ecosystems, if you make poor choices, like deciding to chop down trees instead of planting and nurturing them, or hunting unnecessarily. I mean, if you need to hunt to feed yourself, well, then that's fine. But hunting unnecessarily, instead of caring for and nurturing life, or you're poisoning life and destroying Mother Nature instead of protecting and caring for her, or you're not paying attention to the effects of your thoughtless actions, your purchases, and your consumption. These thoughts, choices, and behaviors all lead to suffering and ultimately extinction of all life on this planet. So the combination of your choices creates your path. And if those choices lead you away from living in alignment with yourself, the way of Mother Nature and life, you will not survive for long. Even worse, if you're not contributing to life, to biodiversity, to sustainability of all life, you're taking away from it because you're not part of creating it. So living your best, fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable life in alignment and love, balance, and harmony with life and Mother Nature is the only sure way to manifest your best self and your most sustainable life in a living paradise on earth. Comments?
Other than I agree, no, absolutely. I mean, anything that comes in a plastic bottle that's been through a process other than natural will affect your immune system, the way you handle diseases, the way you handle, life in general, how tired you are, everything about how you live your life, the more deodorants you're putting on your skin to what you're putting in your body, how many sugars and breads and everything, as opposed to fresh vegetables that aren't GMO, genetically modified, and with pesticides and poisons, grown and covered in it continuously through its life cycle. I mean, the more you're ingesting all those negative things, the more unhealthy you're becoming. And as we step more and more towards nature and eat, homegrown, naturally grown, organically grown produce, you establish a healthier gut, a healthier probiotic environment, and a healthier you. Just to start off with, let alone, the magnitude from there onward.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the onward is everything you do manifests even although it's what you're consuming into yourself, you're by consuming, you're empowering the manifestation of the world that you want to live in, or the world that you don't want to live in, depending on the choices of your what you eat and what you consume and so on.
Mm.
Good.
Well, certainly in this country, but I'm going to say likely globally, consumerism has been the propaganda mindset for so long that that's why we're at where we're at. And even 100 years ago, and probably even less than that, there were still a lot of people who were able to live off the land. And obviously, consumerism and the the push towards consolidation of food production and housing and everything. So the monoliths of profit have pretty much taken over the ease that we can get back to that life with nature. So it takes a huge effort, as you know, to be able to get back, have the land, to get the land in proper condition, to remove poisons and other toxins that have been dumped on it, or whatever's happened to it, in order for us to get back to a sustainable kind of life. So yeah, it's an uphill battle, and again, it's, as you said, it's choices. So every day we get a choice. Do we give up on that, or we continue to find out how we can make that happen and have others people share that dream with us? Obviously, that's what we're doing here with these calls, is to keep that message alive so that it just doesn't disappear because of comfort and lack of effort.
Awesome. I like that. I like that. It was great stuff. All right. So the next thing is, our whole civilization's way of life is out of alignment. It's out of balance. It's not balancing sort of in harmony with Mother Nature. It's disharmonious with life and Mother Nature. So, of course, it's unsustainable. It's heading off in some weird and wonderful combination of things on its own journey away from life. And away from life is death, ultimately. This is because of the unsustainable paradigm, as well as the rulers and the citizenry of that society are not listening nor learning and are choosing poorly. And they are not choosing to change or focus on transforming and realigning to live sustainably. Their path has become a train of thought and behavior racing away from alignment with sustainable life, Mother Nature, and is accelerating away towards some unsustainable path and ultimately extinction. A life or civilization heading out from the natural flow of Mother Nature will soon be unable to support life and cease to exist. It's like, I imagine a river flowing down, first of all, the tributaries joining the river, and then the main flow of the river is like racing down, and it reaches this floodplain. And the main river sort of meanders, but it goes on towards the ocean. Whereas you might have these branches of streams out from the main river's flow, flowing out across the floodplain. And ultimately, they will soon stop flowing because they just don't have the energy and that sustains that main river flow. And they just get absorbed into the earth and so on. And that's it, they're done. Well, that's what civilization is doing to itself. And that's, of course, why civilizations rise and fall. So if we, the intelligent, educated, and civilized, brainwashed humans existing in cities ignore our guidance and the warning signs that are trying to get us to return to the flow of nature, we'll all suffer the consequences and become extinct. Anyone? Okay. In our world now, We're experiencing an increasing number and intensity of extreme events due to these imbalances in our civilizations, which we have created in Mother Nature through our unsustainable way of life. Examples include increasingly intense hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, the intensity of the heat in places like, I just think of Texas and so on, extreme temperatures, tsunamis, earthquakes, global warming, melting glaciers, melting polar ice caps, rising ocean levels, the ocean temperatures rising, the acidification of the oceans, collapsing fisheries, deforestation, loss of habitat, loss of biodiversity, mass extinction rates, loss of topsoil, desertification, pollution, poisoning of nature. These and so much more are the unsustainable practices of our civilization, and they are humanity's dire warnings. And I mean, the warnings to the whole civilizations and societies to change. I mean, we see these things. They've been proven, the statistics, the data is there. Why aren't we doing something? That's a big question. Anyone?
I can't really speak to the magnitude of it, but just walking down the street today and seeing the mudslides that happen, where people in their own gardens are pulling out all their trees and planting grass on hillsides. And then when you have these massive floods, all that soil, all that earth is just washed straight into the streets and things like that, where, if you just left the trees alone, just planted trees in those places, I mean, you're not utilizing it to grow like food or anything like that. You're just using it to look pretty grass. Then grow trees, grow bushes, grow, root soil holding plants, to keep the soil on the land and not have all the topsoil washed away.
Yeah, it's so graphic, it's like there's just like mud across the roads. And the thing is you see the oceans after major floods like we've been having, and they brown. That's just all of our topsoil gone, There's no reclaiming that. And of course, it's one of the, I think it's like the second most life-threatening thing that's happening on our planet right now is the loss of topsoil. So,
yeah.
Yes, good.
I was agreeing with you. Yeah. I'd mentioned last week about Sadhguru making that 100-day journey throughout Europe and the Middle East back to India. And it's called Save Our Soil. And obviously he's trying to make a global awareness through, we need to do something immediately. It's, we just can't continue with what we're doing unless we want to shift into a whole new paradigm of civilization, which we all know people are pushing us towards. And I'd say a lot of people now are just strapped financially. They're in overwhelm just to survive. I'm speaking in generalizations here, but we have economic forces, social forces, political forces, all pounding on us to see how we're going to live. So saving the topsoil or even trying to do something with their own property is hard for most people right now. And as you know, there's a large percentage of people that live on the coastlines in cities. So that makes it even harder for us to make a dent in what's going on with agriculture, because we're nowhere near it and we don't see it on a daily basis.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It really is difficult if you're in the central cities, and that of course decentralization is one of the most fundamental things we talk about. So we've got to get out of the cities. That is not sustainable. But I always live with hope. So what I do is I eat a mango, and I go and create like I get these soil bags, and I fill them up with soil and whatever, and I put my mango pips in it and my avocado pips, and when I've got too many, I just throw them into this, into the ravine. And then every now and then we like playing in the ravine, and we're like, oh, here's a little mango tree or an avo tree, and we go and we plant it somewhere else. But I'm always trying to grow from the seeds of our consumption. And oh my gosh, I mean, before you know it, 10 years or 15 years has passed, and there's a beautiful fruiting tree, and you've got lots of food. Time passes pretty quickly when you're in one place. But ideally, it is difficult to go and plant those trees in places where they won't be weed eaten down or chopped down or mowed down. Or you've got to find places where it won't upset a human that somebody is climbing a tree next to their house or something and taking their fruit. It's like, I think the culture or the mindset of humanity has to change. It'd be wonderful, like I've always dreamed about, is just going along the verges on the side of the road and just plant trees, fruit trees, like that guy Appleseed up in, what's his name? Johnny Appleseed. Yeah. Yeah. And just put like fruit trees out on the roads, Yes, people will be able to climb and see into your yard and whatever, but really, that's food for our children into the future. It's like, and we could just by our consumption, be planting avos and papayas and whatever, and growing more. So food doesn't have to be, or sustainability doesn't have to sort of be as difficult as people make it out to be. I think that's what I'm saying. So Mother Nature is screaming out for you, me, and the rest of humanity to wake up and change now. Humanity's unconscious attempts to sustain an endless growth and consumption-based civilization on a limited planet are unsustainable and will inevitably cause the extinction of all life on planet Earth. Being out of alignment with the flow of life and Mother Nature and trying to exist while heading away in an unsustainable direction on a limited planet literally is sucking the life out of our world and will eventually lead to extreme suffering and death and extinction. So when will you decide to listen, to learn from these and other life-altering events? Listen to your intuition, your meditative state of mind, your guides, your ancestors, your dreams, your internal body, the external environment, Mother Nature, the universe, and of course, most importantly, what we are trying to teach you here. When will you become more fully aware, consciously connected, seeing, sensing, experiencing them for what they are and being the change before it is too late? Anybody?
Now?
I can carry on.
No, now. That was the answer to when will you?
Oh, yeah, no.
Now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of human life, really, when it comes down to it, why are we here? The purpose of human life is not to make the very few rich and powerful. Humanity's purpose is to live their lives, spread the seeds of life and of thought, and nurture and care for the living planet that gives and sustains their lives, and once again live together as one with that growing, living, expanding ecosystem. Our fundamental purpose and collective human focus must be cooperation, us all working together to perpetuate that life. Not just our lives, of course, all life and our life-sustaining Mother Earth. To do so, we must learn and teach others how to HSOW, help sow, or help save our world. Help sow the seeds of life and spread the seeds of thought that ensure humanity returns to alignment with Mother Nature and lives their lives in love, balance, and harmony with her life-sustaining flow of her major river of life. We must all learn our new love-based way of life, decentralize and spread and sustain life across the planet. That's why we're here, to ensure that life goes on. We are like an expression of sustainability. Anyone?
Well, so where have we gone so far wrong that we are not our species mandate to be an example of sustainability? And the thinking has gotten, as you know, way off course on that. So that's a big question: is how do we rectify that? How do we put people back on that path, not feeling that they're sacrificing, but they're contributing? And I think that's the big question. If people are not feeling that they're getting what the other guy got, they end up fighting to get that or some level of it, rather than it's not about that. It's about us being able to create the sustainable world. It's a mindset that the globe needs to have, and pretty quickly.
I agree. That's awesome. Alex?
Yeah, I agree, but I have nothing further to add to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the mindset. It really does come down to that, Kurt. You know, it's really, that's what we're teaching is a change in the way our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our actions, our thoughts, and our paradigm, like to a love-based paradigm where we're caring and nurturing and so on, and we're all in this together. I mean, it's like you were pointing out, that the selfishness of, like, even if it is like that concept of, oh, but they have and I haven't, you know, so I give me, you know, it's not that. It's like, if we all coexist in that cooperation, and we're all working towards that sustainable, magical future, then the byproduct of doing that is everyone lives a magical life. It's just like you can't help but have a bountiful world and prolific life and whatever. It's just like the outcome of being what we're suggesting manifests the reality we want to be in. So, yeah. Your every thought, choice, and action matters to the sustainability of life. For sustainability, taking personal responsibility for your thoughts, choices, and actions is vital. You do this by learning our new and better ways of living, learning the new way of life by traveling your quest for the truth, change, transformation, and transition to creating a new, fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable future. The quest for the truth is your journey of awakening, becoming more aware, consciously connected, wise, and ultimately enlightened. Like you look around you and it's like, oh my gosh, that's what it's about. That's what enlightenment is to me. It's not some mystical, ethereal, like, woo, something out there. It's like all of a sudden you can see like, oh my gosh, that's the way things are. Isn't that? And that's enlightenment to me. It's not something out there. This journey of change results in you becoming healthier, happier, and better equipped with this knowledge and these skills, and acquiring the essential, natural, and universal wisdom necessary to make better life choices and create a better reality and sustainable living world around you. There's always been this natural wisdom. It's always existed. It's just that we've been so indoctrinated away from it that we just don't know it exists anymore. It's like, oh, we need to wake up and see it for what it is. And then it's like, oh my gosh, that's common sense. It's obvious. It's all around us. Everybody knows that. No, but everyone doesn't. Then by practicing awareness and self-evaluation, so self-awareness, it's like, am I aware of how I'm behaving, how I'm thinking? And self-reevaluation is like, stop every now and then and like evaluate what you're doing and changing your thoughts, your actions, your subconscious mind, which is like that program which you just play out every day. You drive your car to work and you get to work and it's like, oh, how did I get you? Those programs are in just about everything you do, those subconscious programs. So your subconscious mind needs to be changed, and your habits. I mean, some of us have really bad habits, eating with your mouth open or whatever, whatever the habit is. And our habits are, it really takes a little bit of effort to stop and say, hey, wow, why am I eating more bread? Or whatever. It's like, I don't need to eat this now. I can go and eat a carrot or whatever, You are changing. So by changing those habits, you're changing your way of life and beginning to live your new sustainable lifestyle. Through this process, you are changing your values and beliefs, your lifestyle, your whole paradigm or way of life, and eventually your whole personality. Because as your personality is the sum total of all of your behaviors and so on that others perceive you as being. Are you nice? Are you kind? Are you happy? Whatever. And if you're constantly changing those and putting in place new programs, eventually you become a different person and people perceive your personality to be different. And you become this amazing, gregarious, charismatic human being. And it's only because you've changed your programs. And you can do that. You have the power to change your personality, your whole life. So you will naturally transform, and of course, that's it. So you will naturally transform the world around you. It's just like, if you change the way your self-awareness, and reevaluation, you're changing all of these things about yourself, eventually just by being you transform the world around you. Isn't that magical? Okay, anybody?
Yeah, I want to elaborate on that. For me, that whole concept of programming, let's just look at one of them. So every morning you wake up, you get out of the shower, you put on deodorant, and you go to work. Let's just look at deodorant for a second. Is it spray on? Is it the aerosol, which is bad for the ozone layer, etc., etc., etc.? It's bad for your skin, your microbiology of your gut. It's bad for you in general. So let's look for a natural alternative. Stopping, thinking, being aware of the issue at hand, the problem being the deodorant and the aerosol can. You could go to the shop instead and go and buy a combination of a few essential oils that you really enjoy the smell of, and combine them together into a water-based spray on that you spray yourself with every morning and every night. Now you've established a more natural way of perfuming yourself after you shower. If we take it one step further and say, well, is there a possibility of me growing these actual plants, these lavender plants or jasmine in my garden, where I can extract that myself instead of going and buying someone else's extracted oils, and taking it further and further until you're back at nature, back at doing the one thing, just one thing, changing the behavior of one thing every couple of days to a new experience, a new mindset, and a new way of living going forward into the future. You will change the world around you, because you will be the inspiration that makes everyone else really look at that particular part of your change.
I love that.
No, I agree. It takes continuous small actions to change habits.
All right. The expanding crevasse between people living in different paradigms. This is like, it's like the weirdest thing. If you don't share with others and bring them along with you on your journey, you will experience a growing crack or divide between you and others, like a slowly growing earthquake. As you journey away from your schooled, brainwashed, indoctrinated, fear and hate-based paradigm, journeying away, you will begin, so from over there, you're journeying away, but towards Mother Nature, you will begin changing, awakening, and becoming more consciously connected, enlightened, and wise. You'll also start living more sustainably in love, balance, and harmony with life. These changes will lead you further and further apart from others. The crack becomes an increasingly divisive divide as you change, transform, and transition. Eventually, it becomes a vast, impassable crevasse, this huge opening, where you have become so different from those you left behind that you cannot connect with them anymore. As you change, you experience this expanding divide and how it becomes more and more challenging to reach out across the divide and communicate with those you left behind. So as you travel on your journey, getting closer into alignment with Mother Nature, it also becomes vital that you learn how to reach out to them, reaching back across the divide to help others get to where you are. There is an invisible bridge to you and the love-based sustainable paradise on earth. And it is that quest for the truth, progressively awakening, choosing, changing, transforming, transitioning, and becoming consciously connected, gaining the knowledge, the skills, and the wisdom, becoming wise, and ultimately being able to see it with all enlightened eyes and an enlightened perspective. Like, oh my gosh. Thus empowered, they will have reached you on the other side of the crevasse. To communicate with them, you must learn new skills. Learning to speak the truth in carefully chosen words in the language they understand is important. But more important is you've got to do that without making fundamental mistakes. For example, instead of using the materialistic language of physics, use nature's wave and Venergy, vibrating energy-based language. You must also learn how to describe your journey, how you thought through and then chose and made your changes on your journey. You must also practice using simple analogies and metaphors, and then telling your stories of how you traveled your journey back into alignment. These new skills will enable you to reach them, get them to choose wisely, and change themselves, because you cannot travel their journey of change, transformation, and transition for them. They have to do it themselves. Remember, your change is of primary importance. But if the rest of humanity doesn't change, your changes alone won't be enough. That's why there is this necessity to spread those teachings globally to all of mankind. Anyone?
I think it's also very important not to get caught up on things that we take for granted, like as simple as breathing air. It's only when we're without that we realize how valuable something is. And we need to remember that we have fantastic lives and we take a lot of things for granted. We need to stop doing that. We need to actually wake up and appreciate what we've got.
I absolutely agree. Good.
It just reminds me of a Melanie song. She was a pop singer in the late 60s. The line of her song was, "They've paved paradise, put up a parking lot." And I think the line before it was, "Don't we always tend to know we don't miss what we've got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot." It's exactly it. 50 years we've had that song available to us. We still don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. How many people are listening to that song? Like, I mean, really listening. I mean, some of these musicians are absolutely amazing. They've said so many incredible things. And I think they do have a lot more impact, though, than what we think. What do you think?
Well, for a lot of the generation that grew up listening to her, I mean, listening, certainly that was started the environmental movement, among other things. It was one of the precursors towards it. So, 50 years ago, the end of the 60s and the early 70s, we were making a big push to turn the course of humanity towards a more sustainable, environmentally conscious, less polluting world. And obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, but and I don't think we should give up hope, because a lot it has been and is being done. And it's multiple generations of these changes, like the 60s and the 70s. And it's like, and each one is heading us more towards where we should be. Although we do have a lot of, like you say, competing different systems that are trying as hard as they can to sustain the status quo and the civilization's sort of marauding direction wherever it's going, Yeah, Karen?
Let's say maybe this great reset that we're going through, and with all the news of climate change, among other things, with the gross stealing of profits when people are down, raising prices on just about everything. If you're awake, you can kind of see the trends are, people are trying to grab whatever they can because they're not putting their money into shifting to sustainability. They're looking to grab everything they can and see how they can hide out when the stuff hits the fan. Now, that's one mentality. I'm not saying that's the truth of the trend, but there seems to be forces moving along that way. So it's when you bring people to their knees, it's hard for them to fight. And I think that's the tactic right now. We're seeing it played out in wars around the world. And we're seeing it played out in boardrooms around the world and governments around the world. So the only thing that I think will save us is when people really get, we're the only ones that are on our side, and we have to make the change, and we have to stop those forces. But as you know, they're pretty powerful, and they're set in their ways and don't want to lose what they already have. So it's still a big job to accomplish.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, but really what we don't understand is our humanity's collective power is the power that they control. So really, ultimately, we do have the control, and it's our choices. It really is. If we could get the bulk of humanity to make different choices, then they don't have the power. They only have the power if we are supporting them. So,
or not doing anything to stop it, right?
Yeah. If we're not contributing to life and sustainability just by sitting around and doing nothing, well, then we're just as bad as the people who are actually doing something wrong, or very close to just as bad as the people who have some negative agenda,
Yeah. There's a metaphor of, are you playing on the field, sitting on the bench, up in the stands, or not even in the stadium? Where are you with the game of life,
Absolutely. Awesome. Alex, anything? Okay. This is every time, like right from the beginning of my journey, there were a whole lot of people who were like super interested, like, yay, let's go do this. And we're going to change and we're going to make sustainability and blah, blah, blah. And we all head out on this journey. And as I'm going, I'm being very wary, and I'm like, oh, okay, and no, we mustn't make that mistake. And I'm very, very carefully sort of like looking at everything that everyone else is thinking about, but making good choices. And then you get the people who are just gung-ho and they just like, go, let's go, and they make the mistakes and they lose their way and they end up stuck in the old paradigm. So this section is don't lose your way or fall back into the life and mind controlling, destructive, fear and hate-based paradigm, because it, by design and the period of time that they've been working on this and creating this, they have all of these fail-safes to get you to come back into the system or back into the fold. These natural wisdom teachings or denizen are fundamental to not losing your way, as I have witnessed happening to many unguided travelers while on my quest for the truth. I didn't have anyone to guide me, but I was like, well, I did. I had my guides, my ancestors, like I was being led through this journey and made aware of all of the pitfalls. So, and I just wrote them down. So I was, I suppose, but I had to be intuitively connected all the time, not to make the mistakes. I have seen many good intentioned people doing great work, but missing some fundamental insight, some knowledge or wisdom of the greater whole and the requirements for creating a total sort of paradigm shift from where they are into alignment, into a love-based, sustainable and abundant future. They made fundamental mental mistakes and lost their way. There are so many traps, lies, and deceptions and loops that loop you back into the destructive paradigm along your road of life. And it's so easy to unwittingly make a mistake by not knowing, not being vigilant, and not critically analyzing your thoughts, choices, and actions. These mistakes often began with the simple misuse of language loops, which caused them to fall back into the old destructive societal paradigm and the old destructive program. Then once stuck there, they could never regain their journey to freedom from the thought, mind, imprisonment, loops, lies, and deception. Sadly, they also took the people they influenced back into this destructive paradigm with them, because once you lead and there are people following you, they trust you. And unfortunately, if you make any mistakes, that's too bad for them as well. So examples of these simple language mistakes are using the terms or sayings, the source. Like it's as if energy comes from one place. And that's not true. It comes from everywhere in the universe. It's flowing in all different directions, this way and that way, and from me to you and from you to me. And there is no one source. God is like this one centralized controller and seer of everything, omnipresent and all powerful, as like one entity of consciousness in the universe. And there is no such thing. I mean, you're conscious and Alex is conscious and Brendan's conscious and the insects and the birds and the trees, and there's consciousness all around us. And of course, if you had to choose like one source, one God, I mean, the ancients used to say the sun, because the sun is like this huge amount of energy that's provided to them all the time. And that sustains life and the warmth and the heat and the growth of life on the planet and so on. So, I mean, if you're going to choose the sun as your God, well, what about the rest of the suns and the planets and the galaxies and the whatever that are out there, all contributing, maybe not to the same degree, but all contributing to existence and life on the planet. So it's like the belief in an individual source and one God and so on is just insanity. So from my opinion, or the use of the word divine. Now, divine has such a beautiful, cozy feeling to it. It's like, no, it's divine, it's wonderful. But what it means is coming from God. So coming from this one source of power. And of course, we know that within religions, the leader of the religion is supposed to be this person with this divine connection or this connection to this individual God. So what that does is it makes one man supremely powerful and the leader of all of the people within his power-based system because of that belief in God. And that's what creates the pyramid schemes. And that's what creates the plundering of the planet and the destruction of life in our world. You don't want to make that fundamental mistake. So all of these words are subtle loops back into the male-dominated authoritarian pyramid schemes of the greedy, destructive, centralized, unsustainable, destructive paradigm, just to make a few people rich and powerful at the expense of everything else, all life on planet Earth. You don't want to make those mistakes. Don't use those words. It is so easy to make these fundamental mistakes. So on this Help Save Our World quest for the truth sustainability journey, we must constantly evaluate our every thought, our language usage, our choices and decisions with the holistic understanding of this paradigm's fundamental foundational principles to ensure that we don't repeat the same mistakes of the past. This way, we can avoid those traps, destructive loops, lies, and deceptions. That's why these teachings are so invaluable, because they help you avoid those mistakes. Most importantly, this foundational philosophy must be the basis of everything we do when developing better ways of doing things. If there is something that is better than what we're offering, that results in sustainability, go for it. But I've spent a lifetime with people like you, all working together to create this amazing paradigm, which is a love-based paradigm, which will ensure a sustainable future. So this is like your best option now. So go for it. I mean, I can't help you any more than give you everything you need to know, All right, anybody?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes again. Sorry about that, but it was a good thing. Sorry, Kurt, your voice, I can't hear. Okay.
I didn't know. I guess I had said that's a pretty good point to end on. I didn't realize I had muted that, but yeah. We got to move towards some concept, and if we don't have one that's working is a better one to choose than the one that's not.
Yep.
Or the one that doesn't exist.
Or that one especially, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Dennis, I'm going to cut out now. I need to get to my next thing. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Good conversation
All right,
today.
go well, hey?
Thanks. Good
Cheers,
place.
bye. All right, Alex, bye. I'll see you on the other side. Are you going to say bye?
I did say bye. I didn't realize I muted. I think about you could too. I'm like, bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And you're muted. Okay. All right, good. Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Have a good one. Ciao.